Welcome back, friend. Today we are chatting about the splenic center. This is the instinctive knowing function. You guys are getting both aspects. You're getting the human design and you're also getting the BG5 aspects brought together and married together. So what you're selling here is feel good. That feel good, that relief from survival fears. This is a review. You're going to see these slides continuously throughout all of them because no matter how you look at this, the material plane, the goal must be to attract money in the correct way. It's through satisfaction. It is through peace. It is through awe. It is not about focusing in on money. Because if you just focus in on money, there's going to never ever be enough money that will ever bring these feelings. It is to start with the alignment of your design, and then the attraction process happens. Making more money will never be satisfying. But being satisfied while making money is a different story. So here you're going to learn how you naturally sell, and you can also see how you are sold as well. The openness is the doorway for clients, and it's also the doorway out so that you can gain wisdom and be sold on the exact same things that you are eventually going to sell. I see that I still have not corrected that slide. That's cute. So the third line, again, even though whatever the line value is for every one of your gates, that is going to play into the nuance. When we're talking about the material plane, we always talk about the third line process. Why? Because the third line process is the material world, period. The third line process is the heart of what it is to make money and be materially successful. The third line is that trial and error process that brings great wisdom into the world, embracing failure. The third line adapts and pivots. It's innovative and it's creative. This is the martyr and the anarchist, breaking down the old to make way for new innovations. Capitalism, as I discussed in the introduction to selling, the fundamental of the material world, 54, 32, 44, 26, 21, 45, capitalism. This is all shifting. Why? The tribal circuitry is going through a major adjustment. The 1949 is breaking down. Socialism is breaking down. The 3740, that cross of planning that has been there for so long, it is going away. The breaking down of the sacrifice, it's going away. And anytime you have something breaking down in the part of that circuitry, you know that the whole circuit is going to have an adjustment. Capitalism, 54, ambition. This beginning of the new capitalistic way, the anarcho-capitalist, is beginning in 2027. No longer is the socialist world going to run the show. You're going to notice a major rise in entrepreneurs, in small business. Because what took place over the last 400 years, lots of mom and pop shops opened up. However, the institutions and governments of the world manipulated this whole thing. Remember, the 44 is about manipulation. It's about blackmail. And what happened is that all those mom and pop shops began to get bought up. And then the manipulation began to happen in the markets, in the indices. Countries were literally brought to their knees because of this. This is all changing, and you are here on the cusp of this change. So let's review what goes on here in the Splenic Center. This instinctive knowing. Again, it's an awareness center. Helps us learn and understand and interact with the world through our instincts, our intuition, and our taste. Shapes how we see the experience of the world. This is the area where we feel fear. Survival instinct is not a motor, like the emotional intelligence, so it lacks the same kind of energy. This is very subtle energy, you guys. Remember, we've talked about the Splenic Center. This provides protective awareness for survival, early warning system. It's the well-being, it's the feel-good, it's the security, that feeling safe, that intuition, that knowing in the moment. As a physical bioform, we are constantly at risk. This is our risk management system. Fears, being alert moment to moment, trying to figure out moment by moment if we are safe or not. If it is not safe, having the spontaneous ability to deal with it. Go back to the keynoting of the Splenic Center, please. And you can begin to recognize the streams of instinct, intuition, judgment. All of this happens here in the center. The splenic side is bringing money in. This is capitalism. The solar plex side, this is where a lot of money goes out. This is socialism. And remember, pleasure is a big, big seller. That's what we talk about over here. And that will be the upcoming video. Pleasure is usually spending money. Okay? Here on this side, we are usually bringing it in. So just as a quick review, an inner authority is what the spleen is. So if you do not have the emotional intelligence, if you do not have the sacral or the energy resource, and you do have the spleen, it is going to be your inner authority. So the Splenic Center can be the most difficult to listen to as an inner authority, as it is quiet. It speaks moment by moment. It's very, very subtle. It is truly about surrendering and becoming more aware day by day as to the subtleness of these splenic hits. Recognizing the fear and then witnessing the awareness may strengthen your relationship with this center. So our innovators that are splenic, and we have advisors that are splenic, or projectors and manifestors. What's important here, take a look at the power of where the activations happen from the Splenic Center in the mandala, in the wheel. This is all about duality. So we need the other to strengthen our immune system. Our immune system needs to bond and connect with the other. Breathing in and breathing out, the bonding experience moves the body to identify with what is healthy and what is not healthy. The inner authority is the guide to knowing who is good for you, who is not good for you, what's a good job for you, what isn't a good job for you. We have taste, we have acoustics, we have smell over here. This is the lymphatic system, the spleen and the B cells, and you guys will get more information on that in the biology piece. Feeling good, having a sense of health and wellness and safety, that is so important for the splenic center. And why do I talk about breath? Well, breath and then the physical, the actual body, the 46th, the temple. These are, the two preludes to the health and wellness of our bodies. So defined, we have unhealthy states and healthy states. Unhealthy, the mind is too loud. Completely do not listen to the instincts and the intuition. In a healthy state, you're tuned into those responses. You can hear those instinctive hunches. The undefined, shadow, this is holding on to jobs, relationship, people. There's a lack of flexibility, feel very insecure. Worrying, ignoring the warning signals, taking in and magnifying the fears of others. This is unable to let go. But if it's healthy, this is wisdom. You have a healthy way of confronting and handling fears. You never make spontaneous decisions because you know you can't trust the ever-changing impulse of the moment. Now, if it's undefined, obviously, this is not going to be your inner authority. That's why it says never make spontaneous decisions. Maybe you're sacral driven, gut instinct, or like gut hunches like I am. That gut response. That gut response is happening, but it's not happening based off of the spontaneity of the splenic center. So just pay close attention to what is your inner authority as we walk through these, so that you're able to recognize, I see how I was sold. Was I sold on something? Did I buy something? And I did it through the mental plane versus the movement of the body. Completely open, can be completely afraid of everything or not have any fear at all. And I see both aspects of this. I have seen where the person has absolutely zero fear. And I've also seen where there's a child that is literally so afraid they can barely move. What are we selling here? We are selling feel good. So as humans, we are so vulnerable. Our bubble of biology that this passenger is witnessing is vulnerable and can easily be destroyed. However, we are not to be walking around on the planet in a constant state of fear. The fourth quarter teaches us this, that we're accepting death, so let us live. The point here is that we are selling letting go, leaving those old patterns behind so that the new patterns for the feel-good can be established. Remember, when we were in the root center, the root is selling the strategies so that the splenic center can use those strategies to be healthy, to have strong values, to be instinctive versus scared. Here's your breakdown of what we're doing. In the splenic center, the 50, remember, this is our values. This is our tribal laws. This is a fear of responsibility. Who's going to take responsibility and nurture all of these children that we are procreating and making? The awareness here is education. We need to have intelligent people walking on our planet. What we're selling here is how to adapt. Instead of being inflexible, it is about being flexible, being malleable. The tribe needs to have some kind of flexibility and adaptation so that it can move through and be relevant. The 32 is that fear of continuity. It's continuity. It's that fear of failure. Remember, we're back here at the capitalism. This is the pool of the 54, all of these talented beings, and who's going to get the attention of the 32? Who's going to get the attention of that personnel / finance manager who is going to invest in that particular talent? So here there's this fear of failure. If we don't have enough talent, we'll never ever be able to adapt, and there will be no continuity of our species going forward. So the awareness here is what can be transformed or not. Can you take this child and transform that child into the CEO, or transform that child into the salesperson, or transform that child into the computer coder? So this is selling how to overcome the fear of failure. As if you learn nothing about the third line, the third line is a trial and error process. If the third line, if you're scared to make mistakes on the material plane, then the third line is not serving you in any way, shape, or form. The 44 is that alertness. There's the fear of the past. Remember, there's manipulation here, there is blackmail here. This is accumulating all of the memories of the tribe so that they know, okay, now that we've invested in this child, we have all of this wisdom and knowledge about this child, let's bring out the best in this child. So selling how to manipulate to bring out the best. There's an awareness here of the patterns. What patterns are we going to massage? What patterns are we going to feed so that we can have continuity, so that we can adapt, and our values and our laws can adapt with us? Then when we get to the individual, this is the game player. Remember, this is the one gate that opens us up to, or opens integration up to the rest of the world. So this is about the fear of death, purposelessness. That's why the purpose, what corridor does your purpose shine through? What is your role in this life? What is your life work theme? These are all things to consider, because there is a struggle, and that awareness is what to struggle for or not. And what you're selling here is purpose and adventure. You're selling that. And you're also sold on it. And the 57, this intuitive clarity, this fear of the future, awareness of the struggle for knowing, selling direct word of mouth. Individuals mutate each other acoustically, frequency-based. So a product or service worked for you, you tell everybody that you know. If it didn't work for you, you tell hundreds of thousands of people it didn't work for you. Direct word of mouth is an individual aspect. Then we have the correction of the 18. This is the fear of authority. 18 is constantly wanting to correct what the mother and father aspects of its creation is. The awareness of what is vital or not. What do we need to correct? What is that vital aspect that we must bring into the future? So this is selling the obsessed cleaning house. Completely cleaning house. Enough's enough. Let's move past this. Getting rid of, letting go of, cleaning out anything that needs to be cleaned out. And then the 48, this is the depth. Remember, the 44 and the 48, they accumulate, they accumulate, they accumulate, they accumulate, they accumulate. So the 48 is taking in all these little drips of corrective action that the 18 sees that need to happen. And then the 48 lets them drop into its well. It's aware of that vital information. But the fear here is of inadequacy. I don't have the talent. I don't have enough skills to get this out. What you're selling here is simplicity. Complexity confuses people. It's about simplicity. So when we take a look at the 50 values, the third line quality here is adaptability. We are selling how to adapt. This is the source of our intelligence. This is education at its highest understanding. We're guarding as a 50. I'm saying we because I have the 50 hanging off of my splenic center, and this is how I make money. This is how I make money. Having people adapt to new ways of the world. You know, by guarding the values and knowing that those base core values hold a foundation for us. But on top of that, we are moving and adapting into this new world. When we take a look at history, we see that there's been tribes all over the world that we're now discovering their places and their homes and their villages, and there isn't anybody around. Where did they go? What happened? Did they adapt and move somewhere, or did they die? So the instinctual awareness scrutinizes what is corrupt, what's unjust, what's unnecessary, and the self-serving aspect of this, and needs to be challenged and changed. As the guardian of the laws, you help to establish and maintain what is right or wrong. You help to enforce rules for caring. This is your way of caring for and nurturing every aspect of life within your work environment. Examples, you can sell training programs. The attorneys, making sure that people are supported and know how to adapt according to the law. Computer training, training people how to adapt to the new technology. Dietitians, having people adapt their diets so that they can be healthy. Letting go of their old ways. Letting go of the old personality tests and inserting the new human design BG5 test, which is just your birth data. Computer training, taking men and women all over the world from their, for example, the manufacturing world, where there used to be hundreds and hundreds of people on the manufacturing line, placing things on a car, placing things on whatever we're making. Now, a lot of that has been replaced by robots. How can we change and adapt as human beings to that new innovation? Right now, there's this big push towards cryptocurrencies, but it's innovative, it's new. People aren't 100% sure of it, including myself. How do you get in? How do you make sure it's safe? How, all these questions. So all this training is happening around that. That's what you get to sell. You get to sell education. You get to sell new ways of letting go of their old, quote unquote, laws and adapting to the new quote-unquote laws. The 32 is continuity. So the only thing which endures is change. This is one of the great rules and great truths. This is the fear of failure. And it can be overcome. It can be overcome. The great lesson of the tribe must mature, it must learn, it must transform, must go through changes in order to endure. And this, again, this is the biggest adjustment that's happening here in the tribal circuitry. The 19 and the 49 are breaking down. The 55 of the individuality, it's also taken an adjustment, and so is the 59. So 3 of those 4 traits that I just said are gates, are tribal. There's massive adjustments happening here. And in order for the tribe to transform, it needs to be able to literally let go of the fear of failure. Try new things. Branch out. So if the tribe doesn't go through changes, it will not endure. This personnel/finance manager that will invest in that particular person because it sees their value, nurtures that skill and brings that skill to fruition so that the tribe can have continuity. Making money, it is a living process. It's not a stagnant process. You grow with what's living. If you don't adapt, you die. So the basic dilemma in business, enterprise is structured theoretically. Life is not like that. No matter how good your formula is, you will meet the fates and the bumps in the road and the changing times. So things change, grow with the living, and evolve. This is part of the process. So the 50 and the 32 have kind of the same flavor in them. We need to be able to adapt so the continuity can happen. Examples, BG5 training, technology training. Again, what are those leading edge trainings that need to happen so that there can be continuity, so that we can overcome this fear of failure, that we're going to literally lose our lives if we do not take a chance and step into what's coming. The 44, this is alertness, that awareness to patterns. The 44 is cold-blooded. You'll learn more about this in the biology piece. I believe I added it in when I talked about the channels and the gates. There's a ruthless capacity here. It manages the ego. On the other end is the 26. So interference here is a positive thing. It's manipulating the ego to adapt to the changing patterns. This is the gate of manipulation. I also call it the gate of blackmail. So how to derive the best out of the ego. It has to be manipulated. It has to be massaged. It has to adapt to different kinds of egos, this alertness. So it figures out what someone can be based on inflating their ego. What egos can be inflated and how far to inflate that ego in order to control them. So there's this manipulation to bring out the best. So it keeps the clan busy, healthy, and that there are, keeps the clan busy, business healthy, and that there must be managers. This forces that must be managed. That's the ego. Must be managed and manipulated and motivated so the clan doesn't collapse. That's the 44's job. We need to let the ego rest. We need to recognize what the ego brings to us. So the role that you could have in the world is this middle manager. How to get the best out of your employees. Propagandist, manipulating the information to fit your narrative or your agenda. Now, I don't love that, but it's about this adaptation again in the 50 and the 32 and bringing out the best. You know, there has to be some kind of interference from the 44 so that we can interfere and get the best out of that ego. So here's an example. My husband has a few friends and they're sales guys. And they spend copious amounts of hours just putting kilometers on the vehicle and never selling a thing. Well, nobody has ever come along and massaged that and manipulated it so that they could get the best out of that salesperson. What usually happens is they just get fired. They go on to a new job. Those egos need to be inflated. They need to be massaged. So there has to be some kind of interference here, and it's in a positive way. So that ego can adapt to the changing patterns. So salespeople, back when I was a child, walked around, parked their car with their trunk full of encyclopedias, and walked around the neighborhood knocking on doors. Now, it's an email. It's an ad on Facebook. It's an ad on Instagram. It's a video you post to YouTube. That's sales. So there had to be some kind of interference of the 44 to say, whoa, we no longer need to have this big old Oldsmobile car full of encyclopedias walking around knocking on doors. People don't like that. Here's what needs to happen, and then bring out the best of that ego. The 28, we're selling adventurism. We're selling purpose and adventure. Holding on to things they struggle with that will not bring them to the fulfillment of their purpose. And they stay in that simple struggle. Transforms integration. That's what 28 does. It opens the door, cracks open that door so that integration can go, oh, hey, there's other people out there. And the 28 needs to have purpose. And purpose will always show up when we interact with other people. Because that's where the 28 lies. It lies in duality. Now, your purpose may not be fulfilled through that. Your purpose may be fulfilled other ways. But we need the other to sell to. So this is about finding passion. And you can find passion through adventurism. People create these retreats so that people can come. Is this the right avenue for me? Not only is it care, it's self-care, but it's also, can I see myself doing this? Like for me, I'm not interested in bungee jumping or skydiving. Is there fear there? Possibly. That's not an interest to me. I don't want to have that adrenaline rush, have that experience, and then actually walk through that and actually end up selling any of that. That's not a part of my design. But for others, they might want that adrenaline rush and then open up their own adventure travel or bungee jumping or skydiving business because they love that experience so much. So the 28 is turned on by those moments of unexpected. There is a rush of joy after that initial shock. And in that moment, they have a sense of being alive. So there's this desperate need to feel alive. When we feel purposeless, we feel desperate. And again, I talked about that when you walk into an old folks' home. If the life has not been lived with purpose, those people feel very, very desperate. And on the other hand, the others that did live on purpose and love life and have that joy and that rush, it's a totally different sense that you can get from that. So unfounded risk-taking can be alleviated as the purpose happens through the correctness. This isn't about taking unfounded risk. This is about being adventurous to find the purpose. You know, I guess I could say that I was adventurous after the human design system bumped into me in 2012. I became adventurous, and that was my experience to experience my purpose. So play around with these and see where you are in all of this. The 57, this intuitive clarity, the fear of the future, the awareness of struggle for knowing. This is the direct word of mouth. The acuteness. This is one of the most powerful ways of advertising that we have. If someone appreciates your interaction with them and they have purchased your product, their word of mouth will be the least costly of all advertising. Why? It's not going to cost you a thing. They've paid for your service. They tell everybody. So here is, selling that word, direct word of mouth. So helping other people with their testimonials, with their endorsements, with their calls to action. Giving clear directives. Like when I appreciate something, I say to my friends and my family, here's the website. This is what the product did for me. I'm going to provide it to you. If there's a response, buy it. Feel invited. Buy it. Buy now. Individuality brings style to the circuitry. How to get the message across. Acuteness, if the truth of it can be heard, you can move the product. The truth of it needs to be heard. Like there's a fella that, his name's Marcus Rothkranz. He is a fellow Canadian who's now living in the States. And he has, it's called marcusproducts.com. He has some of the highest quality dehydrated wild plants in the world. And when I consume his products, I can feel my cellular structure do a little dance. I don't make any money by endorsing him or providing a testimonial. Now we're going to move to the collective. This is the 18 of correction. We're selling house here, or cleaning house. We're selling the obsessed cleaning house. Holding on to fears of authority, selling the fear of authority. You have to be a zealot to have people let go of things. this is me. I'm kind of a hard ass. I'm not going to play around and have battle with your not self. Let's get to the heart of this. Let's get this cleaned up. Let's get those old patterns out of your life so that you can stand in the power that is within your frequency, period. And the excuses, not in. I'm totally not in. I have this entertained mind of mine that has all of its own excuses. I don't need your excuses. You don't need your excuses. I don't need my excuses. Things must be cleansed. Being totally fanatical. Donald Trump always said when he got in, I'm going to drain the swamp. Like him or hate him, doesn't matter to me. So in the human design of BG5, we're saying let go of your not self. Let go of making decisions from the mind. This can be house cleaning products, vacuums, washing machines, dishwashers, decluttering services. This is divorce lawyers. If you have an unhealthy marriage, let's let go of this and move on. Protest, standing up and being a zealot for what no longer is working. As again, I have this hanging off of my spleen. I love to clean house. I don't always have the cleanest house, but I love to clean house. It makes me feel so good to go from top to bottom. And you get to sell that. Now the 48 is, again, that depth. There's so much here. And the third line is incommunicado. Sounds counterintuitive. What you want to sell is the simplicity. That has been, not that I have the 48, but that's been my goal here. My program is very deep, but yet I'm trying to bring it to you in a way that is so simple so that you can see and visualize, because that's what the collective does, visualizes your design, see how it all works, and then lift up your head and witness how you experience that. So simplicity is the nature to success. You don't need a lot of depth to be successful. You too can be a millionaire. You don't have to be a genius. And most of the time, millionaires dropped out of school. And they lived life. They had experiences. And they got down to the very simple thing. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. That's why in this self-mastery movement, I have tried to break it down for you. Have these particular steps. Watch them. Human design teaches strategy and authority. Your business making, or your business, or your decision-making business. Decision-making strategy in the BG5 business world. That's what I'm trying to say. Dummy books. Here's the 5 simple steps. You're selling simplicity. So whatever you're talented in. So for example, maybe you're a coach, you're a gymnastics coach. You don't sell the routine. You sell the little tiny steps to get to the routine. Here's level 1. Here's level 2. You don't grab somebody and throw them into a master's program and say, sink or swim. This is simplicity. Let's start here at the ground level. Let's just crack open the door and walk through this. So what I'd like for you, now you've seen how the Splenic Center how it is here to make money, what you can sell. Oh, sorry, that is all of a sudden not what I wanted. How did I get there? There we go. This is what I want. Actually, this is what I want. So now you've seen all the ways that we can help people let go and stand in a feel good. I feel good when people sell me stuff word of mouth. So I feel good when there's a testimonial. I feel good when people pat me on the back and massage me to bring out the best in me. That makes me feel good. I feel good when the product or the service is very simple. I feel good when I can walk in and it's clean, it's crisp. I feel good when I take a little bit of a chance, if I take a little bit of a risk to step into my purpose and have a little bit of adventure. I feel good when I can overcome my fears. And I feel good when I have ways and strategies on how to adapt. Do you concur? Do these things make you feel good? And if so, how can you bring them into your business if you have a hanging gate off of the Splenic Center? How can you build a business just around that? All things to ponder, all things to let brew and percolate in your cellular structure. All right, so we are going to go to the solar plex next, and you kind of saw how I've already set up a few of those slides. So we'll be moving there next, play around with this, witness this stuff in the world, and have fun.